Alright guys, today we're here with Tzara, a fellow artist and neighbor. We both run an art studio in the same floor in downtown New York City, Art 150.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for being here today, Tzara. It's a pleasure to have you here. And finally we meet each other.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of wild.
After almost like 2 years, a year and a half?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean I followed you because I saw you were like in the mailing list or whatever where we get our emails, but I was like, oh my gosh, I've never seen her. I wonder, does she exist? I see her posting stuff.
I'm ephemeral. I exist in the shadows.
Yeah, I'm like that. I love like late night work. So thank you so much for being here. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
I don't know. Really, daytime job as an architect. So
wow.
Yeah.
No
so
way.
the art thing is like kind of a passion project that started out like 2020, and really kind of starting to paint for real in my apartment.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
My dream was to be an architect, but I'm so bad at math and other stuff.
I think that's like a
so
common
cool
like. I mean, it's good to be good at math.
Yeah.
But you don't have to be good at math.
Wow.
To be an architect.
I can believe like wow, like an architect and an artist. That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's so funny because your work has so many like, how do you pronounce it, geometrical shapes and lines. So that explains so much. Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
I like to think of it as like controlled chaos.
That's really cool. Yeah, and I love when you do like the drips too.
Yeah,
I love your time lapse. Make sure, let's plug in your Instagram, please.
Yes, yeah.
What's your Instagram?
It's at Tzara Paints, and it's Tzara.
TZ, yeah, the T silent.
Silent.
Yeah. Because I remember when I first started, it was like Tzara.
Tzara.
Do a lot of people say that?
A lot of people say
my
Tzara.
gosh.
And I don't really correct them either. Because I would like, whatever, say it however you want. And
me too. I just got, like, people say Tarik, Tarik. I'm like, you know what, at this point, whatever. As long as you know who I am and my name, you remember me, it's all good. I can't even stress about it. but yeah, so tell me a little bit about your creative, like, process.
Well, it's funny because, I painted when I was younger, and then I kind of stopped when I was, like, kind of going through my schooling and training. And then I bought these, like, 3 blank canvases, and I hung them on the wall, and I had them on a wall for, like, in my apartment for like 2.5 years.
Oh wow! And they were blank?
They were blank.
Oh
and
wow!
I have this weird thing. I'll hang up something that's blank and then think about it for like forever.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And for me, it was more about like figuring out like my process, right? Because I was like, I don't really want to like be a formalist painter. I know I want to paint. I know I want to do acrylics, but I have to like get to a point where it kind of wants to look like watercolor, but it also kind of wants to look like, I don't know, just like something super gestural and like and abstract, and so those 3 canvases sat on my wall for like
so cool.
a year and a half, 2 years, and then like it's just funny, like literally right before the shutdown, like the COVID shutdown.
Oh, that's when you started?
It was like 2 weeks before is when I was like, you know what, I think I have this process, and I started kind of like working on like thinning down my paint, kind of just doing like layers and layers of drippings, and then noticing like how the paint bleeds into it, like while it's still wet, and then like when it's in the process of drying, how it does a different, like how it translates differently, and and so I kind of just really experimented on that like first set of paintings, this triptych that I don't think I've even posted on my Instagram.
That's such a cool story.
But yeah, like the process in and of itself is really more just an exploration. So like that's kind of started and kind of has carried me through the past 2 years working on the art.
So like during COVID, that's when you got like the studio and try to like separate.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I started kind of painting like my.
Like, did you use like the kitchen table like everybody does?
No, I had like a small office in the apartment, and that doubled as my studio for like the first year.
Oh, that's perfect.
And then when Art 150 kind of like, when I read about it and figured it out, like.
When did you join?
Like, they opened in like February of 2021, and that's when I basically moved. So I moved in like right as the studio opened. And apparently I was like one of like the last people have been waiting for that space for years, and
because some people told me it opened like 2018, like winter 2018.
I mean, there are like the artist studios like on the upper levels, like the
like
live
on
work
the second
studios.
floor, but it was no walls. It was like it was walls, but it was very generic, kind of like a I don't know, like
storage space.
Kind of, yeah. So
I think it was a storage
some people say
space.
2021, and then some people say 2018. So
okay, so maybe some of the groups have been
it was
in
like
for
a generic
while. Yeah.
art. Yeah.
But I moved in 21, and that's like when like the studio we know
Oh wow, was like the premiere.
was there. And yeah,
Oh, wow,
so I
that's
kind of
so
got in
cool.
pretty early, which is great. And I don't know, like it was more the fact that I was just running out of space in my little office at home, and I wanted to paint.
What was that feeling when you transferred all your supplies and paintings to your art studio?
Shit you have.
Right, and then you realize how much space now you have. You're like, wow.
But now I'm just like filling my studio
Yeah.
space with like random things that I'm finding on the
Oh my
street, being like,
gosh.
oh, I can paint this. This
Yeah.
will be cool.
Oh my god.
But you kind of recognize like, okay, but it's also allowed me to have like way more supplies.
Yeah.
I get more ideas and start like
Be more experimental
Yeah.
and stuff.
10 times more experimental
gosh,
because I
that's
have more
amazing.
space.
And do you prefer to work like in the daytime or the nighttime?
I work whenever I have spare time.
Yeah.
It's really about spare time. It's
Oh,
not
wow.
necessarily like
It's not like that time. It's just like anytime is a time.
anytime.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
like if I have time and energy, I'm like, okay, I can get
Yeah.
down to the studio. I'll get down there. And like sometimes it's like an hour, and I'm laying on the concrete floor just
Mhm.
looking at something on the
Yeah.
wall because I paint on the wall for the most part.
Oh wow.
Or, I'm there for like 8 hours and really in
Wait,
a
so
jam.
because I seen your videos on Instagram,
Yeah.
Tzara paints, right?
Yes.
Plug in. But like I noticed you like depending on what I'm painting, like I either put on my leg because I'd like to feel like that, what do you say? Like what's that? Sorry,
Like
my
the
brain is like.
tactile
Well,
qualities.
just like
of-
have that genuine artistic experience where you feel the
Mhm.
canvas and it becomes like part of my body and we're one.
Mhm.
If it's like a small like 12 by 12, but if it's like something larger, then I'll put it like on half the table, half on my leg, so then I'll start painting it. But I noticed you hang it up, which I
hang
found
it
that
on the
very
wall.
interesting.
Yeah.
And I found like that creative process, like that engagement you have with the canvas is really, really interesting.
Yeah, no, and I think, there's something about having it hung vertically on the wall, and I hang it like it's just as I would probably see it, as I would install it, and that's kind of how I have to think. Although sometimes, there's some pieces that I've been kind of painting on plastic on the floor, and I kind of do a transfer onto the piece. And that's unique because I actually don't really know what's going to happen. I can kind of paint something gesturally on that plastic and then kind of piece it together on the canvas, but it's all pieced together on the wall.
Oh, wow.
And then only a few times is like when I like pull it down and like actually like interact with the piece. Like,
oh wow, that's so cool.
But I don't know, and maybe that says something about me, but I'm not super sure what it says.
I think with your background, like, can you say, how do you use architectural verb, like architecting? I don't know.
Architecting?
Architecting.
I don't know.
But I think with that background, I find it so interesting how that transfer and how like, mirrors into your art, with the lines, the geometrical shapes, but also your approach, because I had like friends that were architects and they always hang blueprint up. You know what I mean? Some of them like either do like that big table where they're like completely facing down, or they hang it up perfectly and they go from there. So I thought, oh wow, now that we're talking to each other, things are making sense. That I'm like, oh wow,
Yeah, I mean, it could be that. I don't know. Like I think it's just like how. I don't know. I think it's just the fact that I have the wall and the fact that I really like those drippings and I get kind of the quality that I want from the painting when it's hung vertically versus even like, if I've done it, like laying down or even on an easel, like that slight angle doesn't give me exactly what I want. And I feel like it might be a little bit of, I have a little bit more control in that realm.
So you can engage it with in a certain way that you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
I like that. And like, what's your inspiration? Like, where do you get inspired to paint?
Where did I get inspired to paint in general, or like for?
We could go from the beginning in general, yeah.
Oh, in general, I started like every kid, like nature,
just
butterflies,
like messing around,
like
whatever.
flowers, like that was like a lot of what I painted when I was younger. every once in a while a self-portrait when I was like feeling down, but like a little blue like series.
Or me when you get a spanking from your parents, you're like, this is my runaway, so when I run away, they're gonna know.
Like,
all they have is this self-portrait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, no, I mean, and I think, I don't know, I was very involved in the arts when I was younger.
Yeah.
And it's just funny, like, I don't know, I kind of stopped all I had to, like, focus on, like, architecting. Yeah.
Architecting, yeah, that should be, like, a new hashtag.
That is a great word.
But, like, did it stop, like, in high school and in college, or, like, right before college?
Yeah, like, literally right before college. Because, like, all my portfolios had art. They had art, they had ceramics. Yeah. I did a lot of ceramics in high school. Like,
do you ever, like, think about going back to ceramics?
I do, and I loved the mess, but the energy and the investment kind of scares me a little bit. Just, like, the time investment in ceramics is even more, I don't know, it feels, like, more demanding and less portable.
Yeah, less spontaneous and free in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see a lot of people, like, during COVID, they got into ceramics.
Yeah.
And I thought it was, like, very relaxed. You go in, you get the wheel, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But it's, like, so complex. There's so many different things and rules you have to follow. Like, and you don't have a choice. Like, you either get, like, a standing piece if you follow this correctly, or when they, like, fire it up, it's crap,
Yep.
And I didn't know that. I always thought it was, like, such a magical, spontaneous, you go in, create whatever you want. I thought it could air dry,
No, it definitely is a huge process. Yeah. And, like, in high school, I did a lot of, like, raku ceramics specifically.
Wow.
So
that's
like,
my favorite one.
Yeah, I loved it.
It's
but
so
like,
pretty.
And you could like get lots of different like movement and kind of chaos from the glazes and like from what you actually burned with your ceramics. So you had to be like really careful about what you put in. But that's also just like a space constraint that I don't have that luxury in the city.
You have to go to like a specific ceramic studio.
Yeah, Raku specifically, like I don't know anywhere.
Yeah, I feel like even if there is like one, it's probably like crazy hours too, like 9 to 6 and that's it, Who knows? Nobody does. No, because you're busy architecting. And like, do you ever find yourself like when you're creating like, is it correct to say blueprints and stuff or projects?
Yeah, plans.
Yeah, plans. Yeah, sorry, that's the word. Do you ever think like, oh my gosh, like this line would be really good, like in this like size of a painting or with this drip or?
Yeah, I do. Every once in a while, like and it's actually funny. It's like comes from like there's coordination drawings, and I'm not going to bore you with that, but like every once in a while, there's like it's kind of like a exquisite corpse. Have you heard that term? Like,
no.
Where,
I'm
like,
fascinated. Whatever you say,
like,
that's so cool.
Where like I draw something and then somebody else draws something and somebody else draws something.
I heard about it, but I didn't know the exact term.
Yeah. So like there's coordination drawings that end up looking like exquisite corpses, right? Like because I'm dealing with an engineer, a mechanical engineer, a structural engineer, an acoustical. There's lots of different people kind of marking up this one set of drawings, and like sometimes I get those markups and they're done and they're all layered and they look amazing to me, and I think, oh, maybe I should like utilize some of this. I haven't yet, but it's kind of in the back of my mind. And actually, just yesterday, I was like walking through the studio at work, and somebody, our model maker in the firm, had like all of these like 3D printed apparatuses. I'm not super sure what they are, but they're just like little support structures that he had 3D printed to support the actual thing that was being printed. And like once he separated them out, there are these beautiful little sculptures. And I kind of got obsessed with them, and I was like, well, you're giving these to me, right? Like, and he's like, cool. I was just going to junk them, and I was like, no, I'm going to take them.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. So they were like support beams to go into the
they're
actual
they're like
prototype?
These, like really small, like support structures just for like while something is 3D printing itself.
Oh, like
he
the things that they
design
crack
these
out
like random
whatever.
things to hold up the thing that was actually being printed, so that it didn't like fail while it was.
That's so cool.
So, but those look
That's so cool that you found the beauty in that.
Oh yeah, no, I got obsessed with that. Now I'm gonna like take a Trader Joe's bag. Take
Like,
all of those things out of the office before they throw them away.
That's so cool. You could probably leave like a big box there, just tell me when this is full.
I'm gonna figure out what to do with it.
Exactly.
But like I said, like I'm
it's better to have
a lot of junk
and
now.
then figure out later, right? Than not have it and be like all misfired, which is like the worst.
Right.
Like when you're creating something beautiful, you're like, oh, I ran out of paint. Great.
Right.
And it's like 11, 1 a.m. You're like, there's no way.
Can't get to the
I can get this. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And also, we talked about the creative process. We talked about the art studio. Do you see yourself? Like now that I'm talking to you, I feel like you could probably create like something like a really cool like public art sculpture or something like that. I feel like this is what I'm saying. Like right now, we're talking about you taking the little pieces of 3D printing. I'm telling you, like in a year or two, you're gonna have some type of like blueprint or something for this like sick, interactive like public art sculpture.
100%
that would be so cool with like geometrical shapes and
100%
warped.
want to do that.
Oh my god!
But actually, like like we were talking actually before we started about going into like the burn.
Yeah.
Right. I kind of want to like get involved and like do something where I'm like, I don't know what, but like something that you can walk into,
like
walk through, interact.
That's like
with.
so perfect how you have that and then you have this background.
Yeah, I think it would be really fun. So I have to think about it. I'll ruminate on it for a while.
But let me tell you something. You're like 10 steps ahead of every artist because you know how to create the prototype with the dimensions and the measurements and explain it.
That's true.
Versus like me going to a meeting and I'm like, okay, so it's going to look like that. And I do like a crazy, like, yeah, we just don't see it.
But I'll still do the crazy sketch.
Yeah.
It's the thing that nobody can read because that's just fun.
Well, the right person will read it.
Yeah.
And it'll just like green light the project. Hopefully, right? Okay, so can you tell us about like your, oh my gosh, I totally forgot my word. Not inspiration, influences, yes, sorry. Ooh. There we go.
See, this is the hard thing because I don't know if I could like name any specific like artists.
It could be an architect, or like
even that, like I mean, like I can see and I can, we're kind of like consumers right now, visual consumers, so like what you think is a reference might not really be the reference.
Yeah.
You know?
What do you think of Tzara Hadid?
She was a really cool architect. Her projects are cool. I like the swoops.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love the swoops.
The swoops are
I'm
beautiful.
a swoop dude.
Yeah. The swoops are beautiful.
Yeah.
But like, I have a hard time with thinking that anything is truly original. And that's, I've been doing a lot of traveling again recently, and I see, like, when you're thinking about, like, even just in America, right? Like, there's tons of cities. Every city looks the same to me, and I know that that's like a very,
not at all.
It's a statement that somebody from Chicago's gonna be like, well, Chicago doesn't look like Detroit.
Yeah.
But yes, it does.
Yeah.
And like Miami, kind of like there's parts of Dallas that look like Miami.
Yeah.
And like so for me, it's kind of like, is anything truly original? And then, is my influences, are they really influenced by something else? So that's why I have a hard time like naming influences, right? Because quite honestly,
because your influence could be influenced by their influence, and you would never know.
So like, for me, I don't know if it's so much about the influences. It's about what I produce as a result of the culmination of all of that. This sounds extremely heady and
no, that's really cool.
Kind of annoyed, but that's how I think, right? Yeah. Like, so I don't have any specifically, but I have everything.
Oh wow, that's really deep.
Is that weird?
No, that makes complete sense. I love that. Like, I have a question. Like, when I look at a painting that's not mine, I am always like intrigued to see the brush strokes, to see like what kind of medium they use, and I always like to try to imagine where do they start, where do they finish. You know what I mean? Try to get in their mindset. With your expertise, like when you look at a building, like do you look at it as like, oh, that's a cute shiny building? Or do you look, oh my god, that's this and that's the they definitely have support beams over here, this and that. Yeah?
I can walk into a building and like think about, okay, well, either the detailing was incorrect here or the construction was, you just like
had
a really good design concept, but they kind of missed it here. And that's just kind of part of being in the field, but
does it ever get turned off, or is it always like subconsciously on?
I annoy everybody I meet if I'm in a space that I'm like, oh, I don't like this. So cool. I'm an annoying person.
But do you like find your brain just like automatically, like you just go in somewhere, or you're outside in the street and you're like, looking for, let's say, a restaurant to meet your friends. You're like, oh, that's definitely boom, boom, boom. This definitely has a support. You know, freight elevator is definitely here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you think like that?
I do.
Yeah. Oh
I always look for the exits.
Yeah.
Oh. Are you okay?
I'll look at it. I just hit my feet with the microphone.
I
It's
know.
the first time ever. But it made the funniest like cartoon noise I've ever heard. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, no, but I always look for the exits. That's like actually the first thing, and that's like just because we live in a really dense city.
Oh, I thought you meant because we live in today time.
Well, that too, but like a really
like,
dense city, and like you know, you never really know if something's up to code or not.
Oh my gosh, that is interesting. I never thought about which is kind of like even worse.
I know.
Oh my gosh, yeah, especially like after that Miami fiasco, unfortunately. Yeah, that made me like paranoid about being like high rises for like at least like a few months. Cause like because you know like the higher the building, like the wind will shake it a little bit.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I would just and how I find it so interesting.
They're designed for like all over.
And I saw something the other day that said like buildings in Japan, they're much better to withstand like natural disasters, earthquake, because of their foundation is able to move, where everywhere else is kind of like, even if they're like on tectonic plate, they kind of would like try to bypass or find a loophole not to worry about it. So when these things happen, and I said like, and my whole the whole time they're talking about it, I said, wait, a building can move and stay still?
Yes.
I thought that was so cool. Because like even in the building we're in right now, like when I'm all the way upstairs,
you can feel it, right?
I
when it's
feel
super
it
windy.
move. And then like when I first moved here, because it's right by, is this like the river, right?
Yeah.
But the ocean leads to it. But anyway, so there's a park and it's like a lot of open space, so the wind is like super strong.
High,
and it's like a high. It's like, it sounds like an opera singer.
So some of it might be from the exterior, some of it might be from the interior, like the pressurization on the elevator shafts, and the stair shafts isn't quite tuned. So that happens also.
Yes, like, it's so windy, like in the emergency stairs.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so interesting.
Like I work in One World Trade, so another very tall building.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
And on super windy days, it's so loud. The elevators, you can hear the howl.
Oh, the wind,
yeah.
Howling. Wow. Yeah, you're right, because I hear it too. It sounds like this like distraught animal, but then like when I'm in the apartment, it sounds like a high pitched, never ending opera singer, like a lady screaming at such a high pitch that you think it's gonna break the glass.
Yeah.
But I swear, I felt it, and I remember one time my mom was over, and I told her, I said, "Do you feel the building move?" She was like, "No," and I was like,
moving.
She was like, "Sweetie, buildings cannot move," and I'm like, I swear to God, it's either that or an earthquake.
They absolutely.
So then I thought it was crazy until somebody else mentioned it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I think I'm not that crazy then.
No, you're not.
I'm saying
you're not that crazy. They absolutely
it's so
move.
Cool. Like it fascinates me that an architecture like can withstand that. Like it's wow. I don't know.
But there's like a level of like there's tolerances and there's like code limits and like we all try to like work within like what you're like talking about is deflection, right? So you try to work within that. I just like find it so fascinating
because I'm so like bad at math, so like sometimes like normal things would be so fascinating to me, and I appreciate it so much. And then like really crazy, obnoxious, interesting things, I'm like, yeah, that's alright. It's like the complete opposite, depending on what I'm looking at.
That doesn't really matter so long as you're interested in something.
That's true.
Right?
And another thing, do you have like right now at the moment, like what are you working on?
So I've been like working on this series. I don't know. I have two kind of concurrent series that are going on right now. Like the one that I started on was what I'm calling Ghost Bodies, and that was very much like inspired by like what's happening. COVID. I got really dark and thinking about like all this like these impressions, right? And which is like I think you've seen in some of the paintings like that they have the geometric shapes, but the shapes are not on the canvas. It's like there's a whitewash that's like
they're kind of like floating in a way. It seems like it. Yeah.
So those are kind of like that's the Ghost Body series, and then the newer series is like the new moon and full moon series, and I think that's like more. I've just got obsessed with like not even phases of the moon, but just like what you could do with a circle, like a really basic circle, and how you could make it like
change the shape
super
and
complex.
It 3D.
Yeah. So taking that complexity and I guess adding some astrological
Ooh,
like
fancy
fun,
schmancy.
like fun theories on top of it, but really it's more about like just kind of exploring
Oh, I love
what you
that.
can do with a
Yeah.
circle on a square canvas.
And since like some of your work, your artwork has like geometrical shapes, do you use like some tools that you use in your everyday to make like what do you call
The plans and
yeah,
like,
the plans?
yeah, so I actually use like a lot of my drafting tools that I had gotten when I was in college
Oh wow.
because we were hand drafting.
Yeah.
I mean, we still had like the computer, but like most of our
Do you,
training.
which one do you prefer?
I mean, if I'm making a beautiful drawing,
Mm-hmm.
hand drafting, but that takes a lot of time and energy,
Yeah.
and like I would probably figure it out on a computer first,
Yeah.
or like, you know, but yeah, for art, I'm using all of those drafting tools again because
really
I had
cool.
them.
So, and do you like? Because I feel like by now your body has like a muscle memory in a way, like how to operate the rulers or whichever
Yeah.
tool you're using. Like when you're creating art, do you kind of find yourself kind of like, wait a minute, this is not the standard drawing. I have to like, like you kind of like
Yeah.
consciously have to be like, no, like left hand, stop doing this.
Yeah.
Muscle memory. I want it like this. Is that?
No,
do you
you're
find
right.
yourself doing that?
You're right. Like yeah, with some of the tools, I'm constant like there's like a triangle kind of angle square tool that I use that for drafting you always want to keep that 90-degree kind of on the left, lower left, but now for, the idea is that I'm using a tool that I'm very used to using in one way in a completely different way for the art. So I don't know if I'm actually using them correctly at this point, but I'm using them for art, and that's all that really matters.
That's all that matters, right?
I get
like
the
that.
result I want.
I like that. And do you see, like, for the future, do you think of yourself, like, thinking of new things, like new mediums, maybe like a sculpture, or like, I don't know, like functional living sculpture or furniture?
I could see myself doing that. Where the time, energy, and devotion goes for that.
Yeah.
It's questionable, but definitely a potential.
Yeah.
I don't want to ever rule anything out.
Yes, no, that's the beauty with art.
Yeah.
And I love when architects do furniture. Oh my god, I'm obsessed.
Well, we're obsessed
with furniture. It's just like it's like functional but so artistic, and the design is flawless. It's like you see, you're like, I never thought about it like that. Like, oh wow, this is genius.
Yeah.
I really really love that.
I have a weird obsession with lighting.
Oh my god, really?
Yeah. So
with the lights and stuff.
Yeah, with like with chandeliers, I am obsessed with them.
Wow.
Like because they could be super simple or super complex, and they're beautiful. So that might be where I start if I ever were to do like a product line.
That's so cool.
Because you can also like change the shape of space with just light.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, there's so many.
I don't know.
Sorry, my coffee almost fell out of my eye. Because there's so like, for example, I'm not gonna lie, but I love the actual product, like lighting fixtures, more than the actual light. I know some people are like vice versa. You know what I mean? Once I have like a beautiful fixture, then I'm like, okay, now it's time to get the light. Does it dim? Does it do this? Does it do that? Can I change color? You know what I mean? Like if I could sacrifice my sanity for a beautiful, functional light, and like kind of give up on the actual lighting. You know what I mean?
Okay. Well, for me, like all of those things are important. I need all of them.
Some people are the opposite.
Yeah.
Like I remember I made this. I tried to do, and I didn't know that much about electricity, so I didn't know how to like hook things up. So I just like bought this huge lamp and broke it and took the huge cord and built like a huge lighting fixture that was supposed to be over the couch. But then I didn't do it properly. The thing was so heavy, and I covered so much of the surrounding light. But I was like, oh my gosh, this light is so beautiful. Like I was like, I'm not good enough in this light.
So it's a sculpture.
Exactly. That's what everyone says.
It's like a light emitting sculpture. It's not a lighting fixture at that point.
and then one point, and then I forget what happened. Like if I was gifted I think it was gifted like those LED sunrise lights.
Oh yeah, those are cool.
You know, those are cool, right? And then I turned it on. I said, I've been living like a caveman. I've been living in the dark. I cannot put up with this anymore. And I remember trying to like open it, but it couldn't work. It was just like so tightly created. I was like, let me just throw this out. I can't deal with this. Yeah.
Okay.
But I did use like the base for another
Something
sculpture.
else.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm like, I will sacrifice for a good design.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. But some people are like, you're crazy. But yeah, and then we were talking about inspiration earlier, and I really liked your perspective. We talked about the art studio, how having a space is so crucial. As previous guests and myself agree, it really changes and transforms your work completely and your outlook.
Right.
Actually,
Have you always been a studio artist? Like
no, like early in my career, I would use my kitchen table. I'm not gonna lie, and it was like, I don't know, like I feel like I created like amazing art during that time, but it was also so difficult because it's like New York City. It's not a big apartment. You know what I mean? Like, okay, so once I get there, I go sacrificing for art.
Right.
I'm sacrificing having like a proper meal on the table, and like sitting on the sofa or my bed and like having a full meal with myself and the TV or whatever. But I feel it's very difficult for me when you don't have an art studio to show your brain off and go back to normal life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because my brain will stay there the whole time. Like if I'm doing laundry, vacuuming, cooking, whatever I'm doing, and it's overwhelming almost,
Yeah.
But having that space where you can like leave everything as is. You don't have to worry about, oh, am I going to... No, you just turn the lights off and leave. I think it's like, it's a luxury. It really is.
It really is.
Like
really
you really have to not have that to appreciate having it. Because it's like it really puts me in a good mood. Because I'm always like, I'm so tired, but it could be worse. I could be having to like put everything away at 3 a.m, get ready for this and that.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's like
the idea
feeling.
Of having people over into your place is scary when you have shit literally everywhere because you painted all night.
Are you like when you're working? Are you kind of like making a mess, or do you?
Oh, I am a huge mess.
Yeah. Oh my god, me too.
I only clean up for like when I know there's gonna be people in there, or I actually am disgusted by how messy I've gotten.
Or you can't find anything. You're like, okay, that's it.
I'm
done.
No, but like my studio space is a complete wreck.
Oh
I mean, I'm not sure. I have those little curtains. I think everybody put the curtains up.
Yeah.
I love those like windows. I love the windows into the studio. I kind of feel like a little fish when when there's open houses and so I keep that open during then. But like, when I'm like working, it's kind of
I like the privacy.
It's kind of a mess. So I'm kind of
but also like if you're working and you're so much in the zone, like when people want to talk to you, like I love talking to people and stuff, but like I would lose that idea forever.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like it will be gone. Like I cannot. It doesn't matter how much meditation and focusing I do. It's almost like an iCloud collective that we all share. And have you had that happen? Like when you think of idea, you're like, oh, this is not a very good idea. And like 3 months later, you see in a show in a store being sold commercial.
You see your idea.
Like, wow. Yeah. I really thought it was so whack, but this is so cool and so well executed.
Yeah.
Do you ever have that feeling?
Oh, all the time.
All the time, right? I thought I knew I wasn't crazy. That's so funny.
But that also goes back to the inspiration, right? Like we're all inspired by lots of different things.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know if there's anything truly original, but it's like what you do with it, right? That makes it yours.
Yeah.
The original part.
That's so funny you say that because when I was in Amsterdam, I got this like 500 self-portrait of like a photo book of portraits of different artists they did of themselves, and it goes to like the first painting ever until like right this year, right? Right last year, and then you see as you go back in time, like Basquiat did like a kind of like a version of Marie Antoinette, and then the painter Marie Antoinette did one like 10, 15 queens before her. You know what I mean? And I remember thinking, I was like, my God, everything is inspired by everything. But I thought it was just like, oh, that's normal. But now that like talking to you now, I'm like, wow, everything really is not original.
Yeah, I mean, you can reference other people's work and things like that, and I think that's completely valid. I just have a hard time believing that there's true inspiration from one specific source.
Yeah, that's so interesting. It reminds me a lot of. Do you know that Arthur Elizabeth Gilbert? I think that's her name. She did Eat, Pray, and Love.
Okay.
So she did like a beautiful. I actually heard this TED talk before I knew who she was, but she said something amazing. She said, I think it was like during Roman or Persian Empire, they believed like culturally that all artists and writers, they had like a spirit in their studio, right? And that would keep the artists back then from killing themselves if they did something bad, but then also kept their ego in check if they did something very good because they believe that spirit owned 50% credit to whatever the artist did.
Oh wow!
So the art,
okay.
I get goosebumps because I'm like, this is so cool. And she said how back then they thought if an artist did something bad, it was like, well, it's not really their fault because it's 50% their fault. They try, but if they did something amazing, it's like, oh, you can't take all the credit. You're not a genius. You're just really good at what you do.
Yeah.
And I remember, and then
That's
she went on.
Cool.
That's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
It like really explains a lot, especially like kind of originality reference. And I remember she said how she kind of referenced that in her work where when she had like a writer's block, she would show up to her like writing studio, and then she started like talking to the spirit and was like, hey, I'm showing up, I'm doing what I have to do, you have to do your part now. Do you ever have like trouble with like inspiration or?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, there are days when I'm like literally
like you just show up and nothing gets done. You're just
I sit there, I think about things, I kind of sketch. I do sketch a little bit in my notebook, and sometimes when I really don't know what to do, all I do is like color palettes and try to figure out like that, like where I might want to go with a piece one day later. So but yeah, no, there's like definitely time that I.
And do you feel like, I don't know, like disappointed or annoyed that nothing's getting done? Like I would get very, very angry at myself.
Yes and no, because I also recognize that time is limited, and the energy is limited. So if it doesn't get done, at least I'm down there. At least I'm thinking about it. At least I'm devoting some of that energy. No, I mean I think I'm most disappointed at myself when and it's not even disappointment. It's like when I'm in the middle of a piece and I don't know where it's going, and I don't like how it's looking, but I don't know what I want to do.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of
it's
in
like that. What if? Like what's next?
I'm in that like stuck mode. Like there's a piece I've been working on I started painting it in like 2021, and it's still not done.
Oh my gosh.
And it's been on the wall. It's been on the floor. I've putzed with it a little bit. I did a couple of time lapses on it, but like. It's just so challenging for me, and I don't know where it's going to go. But
it can be frustrating.
It's super frustrating, and it's also like I kind of think it's ugly, but I know it's not really. So it's just like I'm in a spot with it, and we're just having a longer relationship than the rest of the paintings.
Right now, I'm exactly like that, but before it used to like frustrate me so much. But now I kind of like what do you say in English? The expression silver lining. That's like when you
finding the silver.
But now, like honestly, I don't know if you ever seen my studio. I have to show you one day. But it's like fully organized. Everything's labeled because now whenever I get those days, I'm like it's time to clean. I pull out my vacuum.
Okay, so
you're
a cleaner as a procrastinator.
Yeah.
Yes, like, I do the same.
I forget who told me this, but they're like, whatever you're afraid of to do, like if you're like procrastinating on something, do that thing first, and then everything else will seem so like boring and easy to do. And one day I tried that. I forget I had to like apply for my citizenship. I remember.
Okay.
And I was like putting it off, and like I think my green card was gonna expire, and I was like, oh my gosh, like it's like come on, get it together. And I remember I did that, and then everything else I had to do, like whatever was like applications, this or that, poof, super easy. So now I use like that time, like when I feel frustrated, instead of like getting mad and grumpy and angry, I'm just like, it's time to clean. So whenever you hear like a vacuum noise and the Swiffer noise, like you already know like it's not a good day, but I made it a great day.
Now that's when I know I can like just go in and be like, what are you doing?
Exactly. Oh my gosh, but it's like the best, like being able to do that.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
No, I get that though. I clean as a procrastination method, or it also just feels really nice to like reset mentally a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, the cleaning happens. I'm gonna say the deep cleaning in the studio happens quarterly. I gotta really be. It's gotta be a real mess in there for me to.
But a good mess is really good.
Yeah.
And then
or if we're gonna have like the open studios,
like the open
and I say,
studios,
and I don't want anybody to trip and fall.
Yeah. I know that's always like a warning. That's a no go.
Yeah.
Talking about messy studios. I think it was because I'm obsessed with photo books, and I love like having a glass of wine and just sitting there for like 2-3 hours and not even reading, just looking at every detail of the picture. and I saw a picture of, I think it was like Francis Bacon's studio. If I'm correct, it was him or another German artist. I can never pronounce his name correctly, but he has a lot of art archive that he started but never finished. But they're beautiful, and it, like for the unknown eye, you think it's finished and that's like the target, but it wasn't. But his studio, like Francis Bacon's studio, I think was so messy. Like you didn't even see the floor. You just saw, it's like like he would like regret drawing stuff and just throw it and climb on top. And I thought, wow, that's fun. That chaos goes into his paint and it comes out and then goes. It's like, I mean, I couldn't do that because I go like crazy if I can't find something. Like, you know, if I'm in the middle of painting something, I need to find that cerulean blue right now. I cannot. You know what I mean? Because like the idea will leave my body. Do you find yourself like that too?
Oh yeah, I do the same thing. Yeah, I'm constantly like digging into like my little paint palette and trying to figure out what I'm gonna do. But sometimes, you know, I can plan a little bit ahead and be like, okay, I'm gonna do just this bit on 5 or 6 paintings, right? Like just this step in the process of 5 or 6 paintings, and that sometimes works.
And sometimes you get sucked in. You're like doing amazing. Sometimes you're like, oh my god, why did I use this red? Why not like a red oxide or like the brownish one? And I have another question. Like, do you ever paint something that like when you finish, you're like, this is literally the worst thing I've ever did. Like, what was I thinking? And then somebody sees it, and they're like, oh my gosh, this is beautiful. This is the most beautiful. And you're like, are you being nice to me right now? Like, what is going on?
You know, I haven't shown much of my work, so people, if you've been into my studio, those are only the people who are seeing most of my work. So I'm sure that'll happen one day.
Yeah.
But I hate a lot of the stuff I make, and I haven't gotten validation on it yet. It doesn't dissuade me at all. I'm just gonna keep going.
When you have something that, let's say, like you don't particularly love, do you try to go back and paint it? Or do you just
usually use it like as a testing. Like, you know, like then I start testing other things on that painting.
Oh, okay.
Like if I'm trying a new technique, or, you know, like I've been, you know, using like a modeling clay gel mixture to kind of get some raised
texture.
Like, raised texture, and I've been like piping it on like a cake. I use those pieces for that. That's very cool.
And do you think like that piece will become its own piece?
I mean, if somebody wants to buy it, you're more than welcome. I will take the money and will fund the studio and other pieces. So sure.
And keep the process going. The circle of life.
If somebody wants that, great.
Yes.
You know, I'm actually also doing like this other series that is just like, because I paint on the wall and because I put plastic on the wall, the paint that dries puddles at the bottom of the plastic, and actually on some of the plastic, and I've been like taking that and transferring it onto the canvas sometimes.
Like peeling it?
Yeah, like I'll like fully transfer what has dried on the plastic onto a canvas that I've just painted black.
I love it.
And then I'll like mess with it. So I'm calling those like byproducts. And those are like
amazing.
They're not planned, unintended pieces, but I think are beautiful, and they're chaotic.
Oh my gosh, there's nothing best than like not just being able to recycle something.
Yeah.
But like having that something turn out amazing.
Yeah, they look beautiful.
Because like you feel amazing because you're like, oh my god, I'm recycling something. It's, no, you know what I mean? Like it's not.
But I'm not going to take any credit for them. Like, I mean, I'll sign my name on them and I'll sell them. Again, I will be that salesperson. But like, it's a byproduct. Let's be real. It was not an intentional piece. I just curated the crap.
I'll take that.
That's like the best way to say it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Crazy question out there. Where do you see yourself in like 5 to 10 years?
It's kind of crazy question. I honestly don't know, and I kind of like that. You know, I like that it's kind of like my pieces. It's a little chaotic. I'm gonna try to control it. I don't know really where I'm gonna be, right? Like, hopefully, still architecting.
Yes.
Right? Like, that's still. I mean, I worked a lot.
Hopefully, you trademark that word by then.
Like,
get all right.
If it's not already trademarked. But like, I don't know. I feel like this is kind of a weird like sea change for me. Like I'm kind of like experiencing like lots of new different things. So it seems a little open-ended for me to like really consider 5 to 10 years. Hopefully actually selling my art. Hopefully actually showing it by that point. I'm a lazy bee. I haven't set up my website. I haven't really set up
Don't
any like
worry,
promotional
little by
materials.
little.
Instagram is basically all
Yeah.
like Instagramming.
A lot of people,
my studio.
a lot of artists just like use Instagram as
Yeah.
like that's it.
That's where you're gonna see my work, right? Like
Yeah.
you come into my studio, you follow me on Instagram.
Either Instagram or studio visit. Pick one of the two.
Right, and then and then I'll sell you a piece. But hopefully, within 5 to 10 years, I at least get the basics down.
Yeah, no, that's. I don't think that's that complicated because you're so disciplined. Like you seem like you think of something. You probably don't see it, but like from the outside in. I mean, yeah, outside in. Like like I find it amazing that, as you said, like you started the painting a little bit before COVID, and like you're doing, as you say, like from your time lapse on your Instagram, I saw like the drips, the geometrical shapes, and then you do the byproduct where the paint gets peeled off and you put it in the canvas. I mean, in such a short amount of time, that's like people are like afraid to take such a risk. People are more like, oh, let me paint a beautiful Renaissance painting and self-portrait.
I just know
you
I
just
don't
went
have the
full
skill
in.
for that either.
Exactly.
Like, if I had the skill, maybe I'd do that, right?
Yeah.
Like, it would be great. But no, I don't have that. I know enough about chaos, and I know enough about color.
And you combine the two.
Yeah, just slam them together and put it on a canvas. That's all.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, I love that. No, but yeah, I mean, you got to give your 2023 resolution. Give yourself credit. Where credit is due.
I will. I like that.
Yeah, that's my resolution too. Like, even from like talking to people that I had a few guests so far, you get to like self-reflect during the episode sometimes. And one thing like I learned this year so far, just from like talking to different artists and their, how they think, how they view the world, it's like and I learned that about myself. And today I had a guest that I told them, I said, you have to learn to give yourself credit for the small things and not just the big things.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I just learned that, honestly. To me, that's like, because to me, like, I always love, to me, it's not like working hard and getting what I want. To me, it's like that journey,
right?
An ambitious journey.
Yeah.
Because then I'll work like really hard, I'll get what I want. I'm like, and I don't even like touch it. Like, it could be a car. Like, I'll bust my ass, I'll bust my butt, and I'll try to like work as hard as I can. And then when I get the car, I'll probably not even go in it. To me, it's like the next challenge. What is the next challenge? You know what I mean?
Right.
That made me realize, just talking with like different people, like it's that thrill. Is it gonna happen? Is it not gonna happen? You know what I mean? So yeah, give yourself.
Striving seems to be the driving force rather than the actual thing you're driving.
Exactly. I think that's a very poisonous, and I know that's a very bad trait I have. And to give yourself like, hey, like that's. Like you got out of bed, that's a pretty big deal. A lot of people don't. Not just like life or death, but like like depression is a big thing too.
Legit.
I know, like
I
simple
understand.
things.
We've been through a pandemic. The whole world has. It's a shit show.
Like being able to give somebody a hug, like running through the street,
so nice.
No restriction, like this crazy world and humans like us, we're crazy species in this world.
Wild.
Wild. Shut up to me. Wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
I beg you right now, you have to make a TikTok.
I have to make a TikTok?
Do you have TikTok?
I don't have TikTok.
Oh my god. Wait, so you never watch TikTok for fun?
I watch TikTok videos on Instagram.
No.
Is that
everybody on TikTok makes fun of people that because like you see like 2-3 months later.
Oh.
Because by the time people publish it and it starts to go viral, like and it gets to you like through the algorithm. But like for example, the whole Riri in the Super Bowl, like the rude boy dance where they do that's been crazy. People's like, and I find myself a lot like in my studio sometimes like saying things like TikTok language, and I'm like, if people can see me right now, they're gonna think I'm crazy talking to myself.
It's okay. I mean, I talk to myself without TikTok, so I think you're fine.
Oh my gosh, I do it all the time. Do you like when you talk to yourself? Is it like regards to art or just like everyday life or?
Sometimes it's just like cheering myself on. Like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna get you. You red paint. You're next. Like.
Oh my gosh, that's genius.
I mean. And
you know what I do? I do it with AirPods, so it's like a full meeting conversation.
Oh yeah.
And like the more overwhelming I get, like when I had a show December, like last month, December, January, and I was kind of decided like last minute, let me do like 10 new painting. I don't know what I was thinking, but I agreed to it. And then I remember feeling so overwhelmed, and things were taking so long to dry because I use very heavy textures. And I remember every day walking in 150. you got this. Like, come on, like, you know, you just got to do this. You hang those up on the shelf. Those are dry. You work on the next set, blah, blah, blah. And, like, I'm talking, and I can see people are like, wow, this kid really got his stuff together. Like,
he's walking
this is a whole meeting. This is amazing. Like, congratulations. And I have, like,
but you have the AirPods in. Like, are you listening to music?
No, I have nothing. I even have them turned off.
Okay.
I have my Bluetooth turned off because I don't, you know what I mean? I'm just, like, having a full conversation. Because when I started...
You should embrace that craziness. It's okay.
I know.
It's okay. We live.
I would, but I don't want to be like one of those videos on TikTok. Be like, guys, I was just like walking next to this guy's doctor's. Oh my gosh.
It's okay. You know, sometimes I just think of like, okay, well, maybe people will just think like she's really into like acting.
Yeah.
You know, she's
a method actress.
She's a method actress. Like she's just like.
But honestly, like the older I get, the less I care, and it's true.
Yeah,
like,
no, it doesn't matter.
As a kid, like you hear people like grown up say, they're like, "What are you talking about? That's so embarrassing, Mom. Why are you doing that?" Now I'm just like, whatever.
Well, my mom still embarrasses me, but like that's a whole.
Mine too sometimes.
That's just being
that's like
a mom.
But like, who cares? And that's so much fun. Than like caring and like, you know, life's so short. That's the beauty. Art.
Talk to yourself.
Exactly. Talk to yourself.
If it makes you feel better, go ahead. Be your own therapist.
Exactly. Do the byproduct art. Peel the paint. Peel the Band-Aid and just go on with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm excited. Like, this is our first podcast. This is the first time we meet finally.
Yeah.
Like, a few months, let's say like in winter time or fall time when we catch up again.
Yeah, that'd be
for
fun.
The podcast, just like how much stuff we've done. And I'm telling you, like, I'm already seeing like a website check, TikTok check, viral check.
I love your enthusiasm, and I'm all about it.
No, I really. That's how I get like stuff done. Like I'm like, I remember my mom always telling me, you're too imaginative. How do you pronounce
Imaginative?
That? Imaginative, yes. English sounds like language, yes, sorry. But like I'll be like, oh my gosh, this is a great idea. Then I'll like try to execute it, and then like halfway I'm like, why did I think I could do this? Like it'll be like the craziest thing, like podcast. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be hard. Boom, you know what I mean? Now it's gonna be I don't know. Who knows? Maybe I don't know. I'm not
we'll see what happens.
Who knows? But
cool.
when we get back again, let's hopefully, inshallah, that we're like on the 3rd, 4th season by then. And then we catch up and we see, and like we get to until we're all of our time on this earth. We could be like maybe like 20 years from now, be like in a different, like in Europe.
Oh my god!
Like imagine like I'm in Italy or in France, and we catch up. We take the train. Oh my gosh! Can you believe when I started?
That would be really fun.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's just
really
plan for
cool.
20 years from now.
And I'd be
we'll
like,
take
what
a
did
train.
you do? You know, I just built this building, I did that.
Yeah.
I
built my art studio in this like sky tower.
Ooh, get fancy. I like that. Oh my god, that would be like sick to have an art studio like in the top.
Yeah, I don't know why they don't do that. I do know why they don't do that, but like
budget.
I want somebody to pay for that.
Yeah, they're like, you can have the garage.
The
basement.
I think the basement's pretty good for you.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I mean, I'm so happy you came. Thank you so much for coming.
Oh, thanks for having me. It was really fun.
I'm very excited. But let's just do our plugins.
Okay.
You know. So Instagram, it's Tzara Paints.
Tzara Paints.
But Tzara with a T. So
T-Z-A-R-A.
spell the whole thing, just so people know.
Tzara Paints.
Perfect. And we can sell your artwork there. If somebody wants to do a commission or DM you for a specific painting, just go ahead.
You go ahead and DM me if you want a commission.
Exactly.
I'm not going to guarantee any timelines because I'm a busy woman, but I'll work on it.
You can even set up a studio tour visit too. It's all good.
Come meet me first.
Yes, inquiries welcome always.
Yeah.
All right, thank you again, and I'm so excited for our future thing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited now for this episode.
But also for 20 years from now.
I'm also excited to catch. Who knows? Mashallah, inshallah. Bye.
Oh my.